dogs saved Clint Eastwood from a gang of bikers. What they did will shock you. It was a quiet evening in a remote desert town, the kind of place where the wind carried whispers of old stories and the horizon stretched endlessly under a vast open sky. The sun was setting, painting the landscape in hues of orange and purple, casting long shadows across the cracked asphalt of an old, weathered gas station. Clint Eastwood, now in his golden years, but still carrying the unmistakable presence of a man who had seen it all, pulled his dusty pickup truck into the station. The engine sputtered as it came to a stop, and Clint stepped out, his boots crunching on the gravel. He adjusted his hat, squinting against the fading light, and glanced at the fuel gauge. The needle hovered just above empty. "Guess this is as good a place as any," he muttered to himself, his voice gravelly and low. As he approached the pump, he noticed something unusual. 5 large stray dogs lounged nearby, their coats matted, but their eyes sharp and alert. They were a motley crew: a German shepherd, a Rottweiler, a pair of mixed breeds with scars that told stories of survival, and a smaller, scrappy terrier. They watched him with a quiet intensity, their ears twitching as if they understood every word he said. Clint gave them a slight nod. "How's it going, fellas?" he muttered, half smiling. The dogs didn't respond, but their eyes followed his every move, their bodies tense and ready. He filled the tank, the smell of gasoline mixing with the dry desert air. The station attendant, an old man with a face as weathered as the landscape, leaned against the doorframe, watching Clint with a mix of curiosity and respect. "You're a long way from anywhere, mister," the attendant said. Clint nodded. "Just passing through." The attendant glanced at the dogs. "Those mutts been hanging around here for weeks. Don't bother nobody, but they don't let nobody bother them either." Clint looked at the dogs again, his eyes narrowing slightly. They look like they've seen some things. Before the attendant could respond, the atmosphere shifted. A deep, rumbling sound filled the air, growing louder with each passing second. Clint turned, his hand instinctively moving toward the side of his truck where he kept a well-worn revolver. A group of bikers rolled into the station, their motorcycles roaring like beasts. There were at least 10 of them, their leather jackets adorned with the emblem of a notorious outlaw gang, a skull with crossed pistons. Clint had encountered their kind before: troublemakers, bullies, men who thrived on chaos and fear. The leader, a tall man with a beard as wild as his temper, stepped off his bike. His eyes locked onto Clint, and a slow, menacing grin spread across his face. "Well, well," he drawled, his voice dripping with mockery. "Look what we got here. Clint Eastwood, the legend himself." His crew laughed, a harsh, grating sound that echoed through the empty station. They dismounted their bikes, circling Clint like vultures. One of them kicked over a trash can, sending it clattering across the ground. Another revved his engine, the noise deafening in the quiet evening. Clint remained calm, his expression unreadable. He adjusted his hat and leaned casually against his truck. "If you boys are looking for an autograph, I left my pen in the truck." The leader smirked, stepping closer. "Nah, we're looking for a little fun. Maybe take that fancy truck of yours for a ride. Or maybe—" He paused, his grin widening. "Maybe we'll just take it." The gang closed in, their movements deliberate and threatening. Clint's hand twitched, but he didn't reach for his gun. He knew better than to escalate things too quickly. Instead, he kept his eyes on the leader, his voice steady. "You sure you want to do this?" The leader laughed. "Oh, I'm sure." But before anyone could make a move, the dogs, those same stray dogs that had been lounging nearby, suddenly stood up. Their ears perked, their bodies tense, and low, guttural growl rumbled from their throats. The German Shepherd, the largest of the pack, stepped forward, its eyes locked on the bikers. The leader glanced at the dogs and scoffed. "What's this? Your backup?" Clint didn't respond. He just watched, his expression calm, but his eyes sharp. Then, chaos. The German Shepherd lunged first, its powerful body moving with startling speed. It clamped its jaws onto the leader's leather sleeve, yanking him off balance and sending him crashing to the ground. The other dogs followed, snarling and barking, their teeth bared as they charged at the bikers. One biker swung a chain at a dog, but the Rottweiler leaped, knocking him off his feet. Another tried to run, but the smaller terrier was too fast, snapping at his heels and driving him back. The mixed breeds worked together, herding the bikers into a tight group, their growls and barks creating a wall of sound that was as terrifying as it was effective. Clint just stood there, watching with a knowing smirk. "Looks like my boys don't take kindly to trouble," he said, his voice carrying over the chaos. The bikers, realizing they were outmatched, scrambled to their bikes. The leader, now bleeding from a bite on his arm, cursed under his breath as he climbed back onto his motorcycle. He pointed a shaking finger at Clint. "This ain't over, old man." Clint tipped his hat. "Sure it is." With engines roaring, the bikers sped off, disappearing into the desert in a cloud of dust and exhaust fumes. As the dust settled, Clint knelt down, giving each of the dogs a pat on the head. "You fellas earned a good meal tonight," he said, his voice softer now, almost affectionate. The dogs wagged their tails, their fierce demeanor melting into something almost gentle. The German Shepherd nuzzled Clint's hand, and the terrier let out a happy yip. The gas station attendant, who had watched the entire scene unfold with wide eyes, stepped forward. "I'll be damned," he said. "Never seen anything like that." Clint stood, brushing the dust off his jeans. Sometimes, the best backup comes on four legs. From that day on, those once stray dogs were no longer homeless. They rode with Clint, his loyal protectors, proving that sometimes even a legend needs a little help. And as they drove off into the sunset, the dogs sitting proudly in the back of his truck, Clint couldn't help but smile. Because real heroes don't always walk on two legs. Sometimes they run on four. What happened next? The story of Clint Eastwood and the stray dogs spread like wildfire. News outlets picked it up, and soon the tale of the legendary actor and his unlikely protectors became the stuff of folklore. People traveled from miles around to catch a glimpse of the man and his dogs. But Clint, ever the private man, kept to himself. The dogs, now named by Clint, Duke, Max, Bella, Rusty and Scout, became his constant companions. They traveled with him, slept under the stars with him, and on more than one occasion, saved him from trouble. As for the bikers, they were never seen in that part of the desert again. Rumor had it they disbanded, their leader too shaken by the encounter to continue his life of crime. And so Clint Eastwood and his pack of loyal dogs rode on, their bond unbreakable, their legend growing with each passing day. Because in the end, it wasn't just about the man or the dogs. It was about the unspoken understanding that sometimes the most unexpected allies can change your life forever.